stated very simply, when GLPs, right now we're up to the third generation of GLPs. When the third generation of GLPs came out about 10 years ago, for example, for diabetes, endocrinologists did not come on your show and say, Lisa, we have now cured type 2 diabetes. In fact, since that time, there's only been an epidemic. So what the untold secret is that the more insulin resistant you are, as well as the higher the BMI or the more afflicted you are, the less these medications work. So take two types of people. The diabetic people, they lose half as much weight. If you go to that great resource, ChatGPT, and you look up long-term weight loss in patients that have a BMI of 50, which is twice the normal weight, they'll say there's no data because those patients weren't included in the study. So this is no different than other branches of medicine. If somebody has sciatica, they may respond to medication. They may require an epidural injection, but there's still a place for a disectomy and then stabilization of the spine. Open heart surgery didn't disappear when angioplasty, stenting, and better medications came out. With obesity, there's the naive expectation that everybody responds the same to everything. And that's why understanding obesity is really, really important. I always explain to people that when you lose weight, you go from being the hottest person on a cold day to wearing a hoodie on July 4th. And there's a lot of medical reasons to explain why that occurs.
In other words, it's not just the physicality of the fat on your body, but your whole internal temperature is changed as well. You're saying there's other physiological changes.
When you lose weight, your body becomes more efficient. So weight loss is not going to be straight linear. Basically, you lose the most early, and then it slows down. And the bigger patients will have, the most insulin-resistant patients will have a lesser of effect with GLP. So I think that it behooves us being able to individually characterize people. And I think there's an opposite phenomenon going on, which is that because people see stars doing well with GLPs, and like if you give GLPs to somebody who's just slightly overweight, they do fantastic. People are almost embarrassed to say that they don't do as well, but that's really what you'd expect to see.
That's very interesting. We're chatting with Dr. Mitchell Roslin, 203-333-9422, because my husband has struggled with obesity since his 30s, and he had gastric bypass surgery, and a bunch of the weight came back because he developed neuropathy, which has been a terrible thing, and unfortunately is a sometimes side effect, apparently, of some bariatric surgeries, and that has really derailed him, Dr. Roslin. But the bottom line is, in recent years, he's taken these GLP-1 inhibitors, and everyone has said to him, haven't they worked for you? And they work, but not that well. So maybe you're right. Maybe it's that same profile. I don't know.
Again, you just said a mouthful.
I know I did. I know. It's one case.
In a very short period of time.
It's one case. I know.
No. I would look at it somewhat different. And this is kind of why going to top places is really important, which is that, again, being heavy has medical risks, but being thinner is not synonymous with being healthy. So the role of well-done procedures, and I've innovated new procedures in the way we take care of patients, is we have to emphasize getting adequate nutrition in. The second thing is that when you lose weight, whether it's with a GLP or bariatric surgery, many things get better. Your cancer risk gets better. Your heart attack risk gets better. But the risk of losing muscle and the risk of losing bone increases. So the challenge for really top physicians, and I think this has gone on in most of the bariatric places and in many bariatric surgical programs, and how we kind of differentiate is we have to look at the other side of that equation. how are we going to encourage people to build muscle while they're calorically restricted? And now what's going on with people like your husband is that they are, have some of the consequences of not having adequate muscle after they lose weight, which is caloric restriction. And what are people doing? They're calorically restricting them further, and that's not going to solve the problem. So the idea is our goal in the future, and it's a goal, it's not saying it's attainable with everybody, is to decrease the amount of fat tissue that you have while not having the same decrease in bone and muscle. Right now, if you put everybody, and many of the postmenopausal women that are listening to this, if you just calorically restrict as you're going through your changes, you lose bone and muscle to begin with. You're accelerating that.
I see.
So that means resistance training, exercise, proper nutrition, and a possible use of hormonal enhancements are really, really, really important.
You mean
we
like
need
taking
to look
estrogen
at both sides of
replacement?
the equation.
Yeah, like estrogen replacement. You mean stuff like that, Dr. Roslin?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah. Yeah,
Exactly.
if I don't take my estrogen, I forget my words. So that's a pretty good clue for me that I forgot to take my patch. Yeah.
Well, and that's really, really important. And so that is kind of, we need to be able to take care of the whole person and titrate to function, not titrate to a scale. Further calorically restricting somebody who's lost a lot of weight and then complaining, the reason they're fatigued is not because they gained 3 pounds more. There are probably other things going on. And it goes into what you just said. Estrogen is probably helpful. There's probably a role for testosterone or testosterone derivatives. But we need to look at muscle and bone and weight together and body composition, not just weight.
So, Dr. Roslin, how do we do that? What's the best assessor for that? We're chatting with Dr. Mitchell Roslin of Northern Westchester Hospital of Northwell. The doctor is in. If you have questions about obesity, this is his specialty, 203-333-9422, and you can call in now. He's a specialist in obesity. He's a gastric bypass surgeon. He has innovated a lot of procedures, but obesity is his specialty. He knows everything about it. You've got a question about it, call us right now. What is the best way to assess our ratio of muscle and bone and fat? What should we be doing?
Well, I mean, so obviously weight's important, but DEXA body composition is something that we look at and where the weight distribution, and blood work is liquid gold. And, when you title me a gastric bypass surgeon, it's kind of interesting. I'll use gastric bypass for revision, but I actually pioneered a procedure that's in the news a lot because one of the large influencers had it and has done incredibly well, called Sadie S. And the reason is one of the things.
How do you spell that, doctor? How do you spell that?
SADI-S, single anastomosis DS. The American version, what I pioneered, was called SIPS.
Oh.
And the reason why is because what I didn't like about gastric bypass is that when you eat, the sugar goes up really fast, and then your glucose level plummets. And a lot of patients have reactive hypoglycemia, which basically means a falling sugar level. And what do you do when your sugar level goes down?
You sleep.
Eat and sleep.
Yeah. Right.
And what happens when we do this, for a lot of reasons that I don't have time in the interview to explain, is we don't get the fluctuations in glucose. And it's a procedure I use extremely effectively, especially for patients that have had other operations and not flourished. And again, an important point, okay? Everybody says, well, I had the bariatric. There are different bariatric procedures, okay? There are medications don't work the same for everybody. And that's where treatment and expertise come in, and developing a comprehensive program that's looking at multiple sides of the equation.
So, what is this called? Sadie S? So what is it?
It's basically a sleeve gastrectomy where we preserve the outlet of the stomach, and instead of when a gastric bypass has no valve, we then divide the first portion of the intestine and detour the food to go to the bottom half of the intestine. So the idea, the stomach senses only mechanical force, so a slight bit of distension makes you full. But the consequence of a small stomach is that it empties quicker, so you can get hungry between meals. When you add the intestinal component, you're putting full food down to the bottom of the intestine. And the intestine is where actually GLPs are made. The natural, Ozempic and Zepbound are actually derivatives of what are called incretins that are made in the intestine. They're natural hormonal products. The secret was being able to give them so they don't get metabolized by the body in a very short period of time. So when you detour food to the bottom of the intestine, you're getting the L cells or the endocrine cells in the intestine to make more Ozempic and Zepbound than comes in those doses. So that leads to what's called satiety, staying full between meals.
We're chatting with Dr. Mitchell Roslin. It must be this journey that you have been on to get to know all these people that suffer with obesity. Obesity is so complex, Dr. Roslin. It is. There are people that, like there's that famous author who wrote The Hungry Heart, which is, I think, one of the best books written about the psychological component of eating to satiate your emotions. Eating is culturally significant. It's socially significant. It's physiologically critical. I mean, I've always said to myself, of all the habits that one can have, all of us have to have a relationship with food. You don't ever have to have a relationship with a casino again. You can throw away your pack of cigarettes down the river and have a toothpick the rest of your life. If you're strong enough or whatever enough, or you substitute another kind of medicine, you can stay away from opiates. But all of us to live have to understand and have a relationship with food. I think it's the toughest thing there is, really.
Yeah, and let me add several different things. So you just said something, again, very, very insightful that I'll add to. First of all, what we do with surgery or with medications is we eliminate the food noise, which is completely physiologic. I will tell you that one of the defects when people have obesity is they lose the ability to use fat as an energy source. So think about a hybrid car can burn gas or electric. The obese person loses the ability to burn the electric, which is fat, and only can burn their glucose or glycogen with minimal activity. The body has limited stores, so that drives them to eat. And there's a lot of evolutionary reasons that would be sensed that way because, again, you would have plenty of fructose or the fruit sugar when food was plentiful and people were hunters and gatherers, and then that would go down as the drought would come.
Okay.
Okay? So now what we do in surgery is we make you less hungry and full faster. And so the brain actually matches the GI tract. But you have to eat to live. And it's really, really important for people to realize we're not clipping a bird's wings. This is not negative behavior reinforcement, like you're going to eat something and get really, really, really sick. Our patients still enjoy food. They still eat. But what happens is they have less food noise, which allows them to make better, not perfect decisions. Any patient in the office, I always tell them, I am not making unhealthy food healthy. I'm not going to make the potato chip a healthier food. What I'm doing is I'm making you less ravenous so that you don't have to grab things so you can make better decisions. And what you find is that when people, it is a complete, utter absurdity, okay? You mentioned your husband on the show that people who have a weight problem don't have willpower. Eating behavior is completely physiologic.
I know.
So when they are not ravenously hungry and when they are full, they are much more better at structuring their lifestyle. Mm-hmm. They can still go to parties. They can still enjoy, enjoy festivities. But what we try to teach them is that everybody that's successful has a structure. So if you go off your structure because it's Billy's birthday today, then tomorrow you go back to your structure.
Right. That's right.
And alcohol is just the ultimate carbohydrate. And so, again, drink with food on special occasions, but it shouldn't be a regular nutrient. It's actually an anti-nutrient, but that's another conversation.
Dr. Rosalind Mitchell-Roslin, thank you so much for joining us, the Director of Bariatric Surgery and the Program of Surgery, a General Surgeon at Northern Westchester Hospital, a true innovator and expert on obesity. Thank you very much, Dr. Roslin, for joining us today.
Thank you for having me.
Always a pleasure, really. We'll be right back. The Lisa Wexler Show. Stay tuned.
Catch up on all the talk you missed. Get Lisa Wexler's Daily Podcast.
Selling your home is a numbers game. The more potential buyers who see it, the greater the opportunity to sell. And when your home is listed on Smart MLS, more than 21,000 realtors see it. And so do all their buyers. Suddenly, the number of people looking at your home starts to grow by a lot. More realtors sharing your listing. More people seeing your home. More offers coming in. And maybe even more cash in your pocket. Smart move, right? Ask your realtor. Is my house on Smart MLS? Smart MLS, the smart way to sell your home.
Discover the finest flooring in Southern Connecticut at Courtesy Carpet. With over 50 years experience, we've got your flooring needs covered. From intricate area rugs, durable vinyl and laminate to elegant stair runners. Shop anywhere, but make sure to see us before you buy. Visit courtesycarpet.com to explore our extensive selection. Visit Ellen, Jay, and the team at Courtesy Carpet, Route 111 in Monroe. Trust us, the experts in quality flooring. Because at Courtesy Carpet, your satisfaction is our courtesy.
If you're a parent looking for an affordable, innovative, and caring private school right here in Fairfield County, look no further. Schoolhouse Academy is here. Located at the Old Lady Fatima property in Wilton, but entirely renovated. Schoolhouse Academy provides a full-service K-8 co-ed project-oriented art, STEM, and character-based education for a tuition of only $20,000. Compare that to any comparable school here in Fairfield County, and you will see the value. As one parent says,
"We are absolutely thrilled with the Schoolhouse Academy. Our son has gone from feeling lost in math to thriving in an advanced class in just 1 quarter. However, what truly sets this school apart is the human quality of the teachers and management. They genuinely care about the children and their unique needs. We couldn't have asked for a better place for our child to grow and succeed."
open houses for fall enrollment are happening right now. Go to schoolhouseacademy.net. That's schoolhouseacademy.net. Teaching children to think by doing. schoolhouseacademy.net.
Connecticut Mega Millions is bigger than ever, with larger, faster-growing jackpots and bigger secondary prizes. Bigger than ever. Oh, and did we mention now every play automatically includes a multiplier that increases all non-jackpot prizes by up to 10 times? Yeah, bigger than ever. Play Connecticut Mega Millions today. Overall odds 1 in 23.1. Jackpot odds 1 in 291 million. Must be 18 or older. Help is available for problem gambling. Call 888-789-7777 or visit ccpg.org.
This Earth Day, celebrate nature's greatest journey. Join Sacred Heart University and the Explorers Club for a special screening of Fly Way of Life, a stunning wildlife documentary by award-winning SHU alum Tomas Keck, capturing the epic bird migration along the Atlantic Flyway. It's happening April 22nd at the SHU Community Theater in Fairfield with a red carpet arrival, photo exhibit, and expert panel. Celebrate Earth Day in a truly unforgettable way. Get tickets now at shucommunitytheater.org.
I remember brushing my hair and looking down and thinking, oh my gosh, do I have any hair left?
I used to look at women with thick, beautiful hair and think, why doesn't my hair look like that?
My thinning hair is making me feel so old.
If you want thick, healthy, gorgeous hair, then you need Hair Volume from New Nordic. With clinically proven ingredients like apple extract, biotin, and millet, Hair Volume nourishes your hair follicles to promote thicker, healthier-looking hair. Say goodbye to shedding, thin, and dull hair, and hello to thick, healthy hair with Hair Volume.
Since taking Hair Volume, the shedding has all but stopped.
Now, instead of being jealous of other women's hair, I have friends who are jealous of mine.
My hairdresser couldn't believe the difference in my hair. Now she's using Hair Volume too.
Available as a tablet or delicious gummy, Hair Volume is available online at Amazon and NewNordicUSA.com, or find Hair Volume in the hair care aisle at your local CVS.
Back to the news and talk. Thanks to Smart MLS. Smart sellers ask, is my home on Smart MLS? The voice of Connecticut. WICC 695.9. It's the Lisa Wexler Show.
Hola, bola. Welcome back to the show. 203-333-9422. We got a bunch of stuff to talk about in the next hour. I'm skedaddling at 11. And I believe we're going to have a local pastor call in around 11:05 to educate us all a little bit about the holiday of Good Friday, because I always want to learn stuff. There's a bombshell, according to Kevin Rennie. He calls it a bombshell. You tell me. Supreme Court Judge Matthew Butzik ruling yesterday that Pura has to produce all documents within its possession and control that concern the drafting or authorship of a particular op-ed that was published December 19, 2024. And this was purportedly written, and I assume it was written by Senator Norm Needleman and Representative Jonathan Steinberg, both of whom are very articulate people who appeared on the show and certainly know how to write a paragraph. But the op-ed alleged that Eversource, which is the state's largest utility, had connived to have financial ratings agencies downgrade its rating as proof that Pura was damaging its own ability to do business in Connecticut. It also criticized media coverage of the complex issues regarding energy generation. And this, according to Kevin Rennie, the criticism appeared to be aimed at the state's leading reporter on energy issues. He says that's the current's Ed Mahoney. So immediately upon being published, there were questions about who wrote it. And according to Kevin Rennie, quote, it sounded like it was a page out of Pura Chair Marissa Gillette's manual on how to criticize utilities. That's his opinion. In any event, Judge Butzik saying, you've got 15 days, Pura, to comply with my order. And Judge Butzik concluded as to the op-ed, the court has reviewed the December 19, 2024 op-ed appearing in the Connecticut Mirror that is the basis of CNG's and SCG's allegations. And this is what is important. Quote, the court concludes that a disinterested observer could conclude that the author of the op-ed in question could have, in some measure, adjudged the facts of their applications before hearing the case, which is to say prejudged whether the requested rate increases before Pura were appropriate. So let's see what happens here. Marissa Gillette has stated under oath she had nothing to do with the incendiary opinion piece, and Needleman and Steinberg continue to insist that they are its authors. We will continue to keep you updated on this. 203-333-9422. We're going to be back with the next hour. Lots of news you may have missed. It's catch-up day. It's Friday. Stay tuned.
WICC Bridgeport, WFOX Southport, WEBE HD2 Westport, WPLR HD2 New Haven, locally owned by Connoisseur Media.
This is CBS News on the Hour, sponsored by Progressive Insurance.
I'm Peter King. Maryland Senator Chris Van Hollen is trying to help an improperly deported migrant back to the U.S. from El Salvador. The latest ruling from an appeals court says the Trump administration needs to get it done.
We need to make sure that the court system works and due process works, because if you take it away for any individual, it's a very short road to taking it away for every American.
Van Hollen met with Kilmar Abrego Garcia after being turned away from the prison where he's being held. Garcia has no criminal record, but was caught up in the ICE roundups of criminal and alleged criminal migrants. The White House has a different take. Here's correspondent Scott McFarland.
The White House called Senator Van Hollen's visit truly disgusting, saying Chris Van Hollen has firmly established Democrats are the party whose top priority is the welfare of an illegal alien MS-13 terrorist.
There are no classes at Florida State University today. There will be a vigil tonight in honor of the 2 people killed and 6 wounded in yesterday's mass shooting there. 2 of those 6 are expected to be released from the hospital today. For FSU student Stephanie Horowitz, it was a case of deja vu. She survived the Parkland High School shootings and tells CBS Mornings what she saw yesterday in Tallahassee.
You looked out into that room and you knew there was an emergency. There was not anything there, no movement, dead silence, and laptops open, bags on the floor. I knew what that meant.
The accused gunman is the stepson of a deputy sheriff. Police shot and wounded him, and he remains hospitalized. Vice President Vance is in Rome to talk with Italy's leader.
We have a couple of important issues to discuss today. I want to update the Prime Minister on some of the negotiations between Russia, Ukraine, and also some of the things that have happened. Even in the past 24 hours, we think we have some interesting things to report on, of course, in private.
Vance also plans to visit the Vatican and speak with one of the Pope's closest advisors. As for the Pope, well, he's been out in public this week and may be again for Easter Sunday. CBS's Chris Livesay has more from Rome.
It's a busy day for the Catholic Church, topped off with the Via Crucis, a candlelight service at the Colosseum commemorating Christ's crucifixion. Pope Francis is not expected to attend. He's still recovering from double pneumonia. The pontiff was released from the hospital just 3 weeks ago, and doctors told him to avoid mingling with the public. However, he's made a string of surprise appearances, including at a Rome prison yesterday. He's not officially scheduled to appear on Easter Sunday, but Vatican watchers have come to expect surprises. Chris Livesay, CBS News, Rome.
On this Good Friday, the markets are closed. This is CBS News.
A riddle brought to you by Progressive Insurance. What do your home and auto have in common? Progressive protects them both. It was an easy riddle. Learn more at Progressive.com.
Patrick was way behind on his IRS taxes.
I was in way over my head. The total amount ended up being somewhere just over $30,000. $30,000.
Then the IRS came to collect.
Started getting letter after letter. A lien had been filed against me. They were going to basically hang me completely out to dry.
He had to do something.
That's when I reached out to Optima Tax Relief.
Patrick's life quickly got a lot easier.
It was very easy, pretty much hands off. They picked up the ball and ran with it.
And how'd it go?
I couldn't believe it. I had to ask 2 or 3 times. I saved an incredible amount of money.
How does Patrick feel about Optima?
Couldn't be happier. They definitely helped me. Optima Tax Relief, the best place to call. They're the best in the business.
Do what Patrick did and call Optima Tax Relief for a free consultation. Call 800-343-6460. 800-343-6460. 800-343-6460. Optima Tax Relief. Testimonial from an actual client. Some restrictions apply. For complete details, please visit OptimaTaxRelief.com. WICC 695.9. Voice of Connecticut Local News Update.
This update is brought to you by Bridge Life Financial Advisors. Plan for a stable, confident retirement no matter what tomorrow brings. Don't navigate your retirement alone. Let Bridge Life Financial Advisors show you how. Call or visit them online at bridgelightadvisors.com. Senator Richard Blumenthal wants answers after visas have been revoked for dozens of international students in Connecticut. Blumenthal has written to the U.S. Department of Homeland Security wanting to know why the visas were pulled without any explanation. He says this behavior will have a chilling effect as it will discourage international talent from coming to the U.S. to study. Around 100 students, faculty, and staff gathered on the UConn campus yesterday to protest the Trump administration's actions. Jose Morales testified yesterday that he did not kill his girlfriend Christine Holloway in her Ansonia home in 2019. Morales was questioned for hours yesterday under cross-examination after taking the stand in his murder trial. Prosecutor Howard Stein sought to highlight inconsistencies in the story of Morales, who claims intruders killed Holloway and kidnapped their 14-month-old daughter, who has not been found. The defense rested after the cross-examination, and closing arguments are expected on Monday. For the Voice of Connecticut, WICC, I'm John Kamal.
WICC 695.9, the Voice of Connecticut. Weather update.
Sunny sky through this afternoon with a high in the low to mid 60s and a breeze out of the south. A mild night ahead under a cloudy sky with a low near 50. Partly sunny and very warm tomorrow with a high near 80. I'm meteorologist Paul Piorek on WICC.
Attorney, advocate, author, public speaker. The Lisa Wexler Show. Flip that switch and turn on your brain. Here is Lisa Wexler.
It's Good Friday today. And Sunday is Easter Sunday. Do we have queued up my favorite song, Christian? Are we going to play it? We got Judy Garland here to serenade us.
In your Easter bonnet with all the frills upon it, you'll be the grandest fellow in the Easter parade. I'll be all in clover, and when they look us over, the proudest couple in the Easter parade.
One of the greats. Don't miss it. Don't miss it. Don't miss the swells. Don't miss it. I've written songs to different lyrics to these wonderful melodies. It was written by Irving Berlin, who wrote the music and lyrics. And Easter Parade was originally supposed to be Gene Kelly with Judy Garland, who was supposed to be reunited after Me and My Gal, which they had done in black and white years earlier. You know, Judy Garland is the person who brought Gene Kelly, who was a choreographer and somewhat of a theater dancer and had a splash in Pal Joey on Broadway. It was Judy Garland who brought Gene Kelly to Hollywood. And years later, Judy Garland had her own battles with pills and with weight and with ups and downs and good and bad years. And it was Gene Kelly who sort of rescued Judy Garland from a premature retirement and put her in summer stock, where she did that famous Get Happy number with her beautiful legs. Anyway, so what happened is Easter Parade had been written and it was ready to go in Technicolor, and Fred Astaire had retired because by then he was in his 50s, and he's like, I'm in my 50s. I'm not the Fred Astaire of Ginger Rogers of 20 years ago in the 30s. But Gene Kelly begged Fred Astaire to come out of retirement to do this movie, and he did. So Fred Astaire came out of retirement. He was so elegant and wonderful. And honestly, the age difference kind of disappears when you see the story between Judy Garland, who was still then in her, let's see, she was 16 in 1939, and Easter Parade was made in 1950? When was Easter Parade made? Christian, help me out. Easter Parade was made like in the early 50s, late 40s. When was Easter Parade made? Hold on. I'll find out. 48. Okay. So 9 and 16, she was only 25 years old. That's all she was. She was 25 years old, Judy Garland. Of Easter Parade? It wasn't written for the movie Easter Parade? Oh, that's a little bit of trivia. Even before Judy Garland sang it in Easter Parade? That doesn't make sense to me. Really? Because by 1948, Al Jolson was like done. He had his big heyday in the 20s. It doesn't sound right to me. Christian has to look at that again. It doesn't sound right to me. Anyway, so Easter Parade, and of course, Anne, what's her name, is in there shaking the blues away. Ann Miller, she's fantastic. And Peter Lawford, who later married Gene Kennedy, is, I'm the fella with an umbrella. So Easter Parade gets done in 1948, and basically Fred Astaire has a renaissance. He does Funny Face with Audrey Hepburn. He does Daddy Longlegs with Leslie Caron. He has a whole resurgence of his career because he came out of retirement and honestly looked none the worse for wear. He was just as elegant and just as wonderful a dancer in Easter Parade as he ever was. He was my favorite growing up. I used to watch him in To Catch a Thief with Robert Wagner. Now, we have had on hold Pastor Carl McCluster, who has been patiently waiting, who is coming in today as a pastor in our own community of Shiloh Baptist Church in Bridgeport, who heard the call from me to ask a religious leader with knowledge to tell us a little bit about Good Friday and the meaning of Good Friday to those of the Christian faith. Pastor McCluster, thank you for coming on the show today. Hello.
Hey, Lisa. Thanks for having me. And by the way, I'm just a nobody trying to tell everybody about somebody who can save anybody.
Okay. Well, okay. So there you go. So why is Good Friday such a holy day in the Christian calendar?
Well, it's a holy day because it symbolizes probably the most significant act of Christendom. As the scripture tells the story that Jesus gathered his disciples together and they had a Last Supper. And then, I'll actually read what Paul wrote from 1 Corinthians chapter 15. For what I received, I pass on to you as of first importance, that Christ died for our sins according to the scriptures, that he was buried, and he was raised on the third day according to the scriptures. So Good Friday, or Maundy Thursday, is when they would have eaten that meal. He was crucified on that Thursday night, early Friday morning. So the death on the cross, of course, was the cruelest of all deaths of the Roman era. You basically were nailed up there, and then they would harass you, stick you in the side, poke you until you bled out. So it's one of the most painful and cruel types of deaths. But Christ bore that death because of his belief and sharing that God would forgive people if they would confess their sins.
So,
And
Pastor McCluster, I've always been taught, and I could be wrong about this, that the Last Supper was actually a Passover Seder. Is that right?
Well, I think that people in the Jewish tradition would call it that. If you take the elements of a Seder and take the elements of the Passover dinner, then they're there. There's the bread, the fruit of the earth, and then the fruit of the vine with the wine, and those are the two elements. I think that some people make that relationship because Christ was a Jew. So, what would he be doing for a meal like that? He'd be doing what was done in the Jewish tradition. So,
no, I literally thought it came during the Passover season, that the Last Supper was actually during Passover. Maybe I'm wrong. That's why I thought that, but maybe not. I don't know.
Well, I would have to ask my dear friend Jeremy Wiederhorn.
Oh, really? He's your friend? He's from the Conservative Synagogue in Westport.
Yes, we got together. He and I and Chris Healy were led to form the Connecticut Faith Leaders Collaborative during the COVID era.
That's so nice. My husband and I are founding members of that synagogue.
Oh,
We haven't belonged in a long time. That's another conversation. We should probably rejoin. But we were founding members. We belonged for many years. Yeah. Wow.
Yeah, I think Rabbi Wiederhorn's a great guy.
He
was at one point the president of the New York, New Jersey, Connecticut rabbis, which is more than 1,000 rabbis in the region.
Wow.
So really, really a good guy. He and his wife are really good friends.
That is so nice that you have this interfaith. Who else is in this interfaith? So it's you, Chris Healy. It's a rabbi. Is there a Muslim leader there? Are there Hindu leaders there? Other leaders?
Yeah, there are different people that come in and out. Of course, it's been 5 years. Wow, she was before that. And I mean, the first year we were together, and we had folks from probably about 16 faith traditions, 17 faith traditions that came together. And we actually did a prayer together over at the Klein Memorial Theater outside, trying to, pray and asking God to release us from the COVID affliction and things like that. But it really has turned into a great, as needed cross-section collaboration whenever something's going on. When things crazy go on, the house of worship is the lender, clothier, feeder, and protector of last resort, as we've seen in many different instances. So that's all the houses of faith. So
we're chatting with That's beautiful. We're chatting with Pastor Carl McCluster of Shiloh Baptist Church. It's because I want to get educated a little bit. Are there special rituals that are unique to Good Friday today that you and your congregation observe?
Yeah, sure. As a matter of fact, in Bridgeport this week, which we know is Holy Week, right? There's the Interdenominational Ministerial Alliance under the leadership of William McCullough, who's over at Russell Temple CME Church. He's the president right now. Brenda Barnes from Faith Gospel Assembly is the vice president. But we've been holding services all week, and tonight is the last night of services at the Cathedral of Faith at 2317 Fairfield Avenue, right before you get to the Burroughs Center on the left-hand side going up towards Fairfield. But the community has been coming together. We've been having services each night with different people preaching and speaking. And then last night we had our communion, which would have been symbolic of the Last Supper last night.
Okay. And so, Pastor, let me give you an opportunity to be a little bit religious here. What's the message to your flock today? What's the message?
The message is that while we all have sinned and come short of the glory of God, and all like sheep have gone astray, the Christ's sacrifice upon the cross was what God required in order for us to be able to access and have forgiveness for our sins. And we've done things that are unforgivable. And we see all kinds of gods, if you will, in different traditions that are the angry, kill you God for whatever you do. So the idea that God the God of the Christian faith, and actually God of the world. I mean, we would call the God of the Christian faith the same God that the Jews call God, and that God does not want to destroy us, loves us enough, and like a good parent, makes a way for us to be forgiven from some unforgivable sins. The Scripture says that if you confess your sin, He is faithful and just, will forgive your sin and cleanse you from all unrighteousness. And that's made possible in the Christian tradition by Christ sacrificing Himself, the sinless one who was hung on a cross to die, who was crucified, and therefore was the Lamb that was slain for the sins of the world. So that's the message. The message to the flock and to the world is that no matter what you've done, no matter where you've been, if you sincerely turn away, the Scripture, if my people who are called by my name will humble themselves and pray and seek my face and turn from their wicked ways, then will I hear from heaven, will forgive their sin, and will heal their land. So God will restore you to right standing and give you the opportunity to live your life right, as opposed to just striking you down and destroying you.
Well, thank you, Pastor. There's so many ways I could go with that. You know, as I was thinking what you were saying, I was thinking. So as a pastor, I'm going to ask you one question, just one.
Sure. Mm-hmm.
Do you think that it is important for people when they've been caught sinning, very obviously sinning, whether they've just been caught, acting fraudulently, or they've been caught adultery, whatever they've been done, but they have a public visage, they have a public figure image. Do you think that those people have an obligation to publicly apologize if they've done something wrong? Or do you think that they do not owe an obligation to their fellow people, that their only obligation they owe is to their soul and their God, but they don't owe an obligation to other people if they have disappointed them or transgressed or sinned? What do you think? I'm talking about public people.
Sure. I think that any person who has the public eye and has a voice in public, if they do something that's wrong, which would be a sin, and that's exposed, really, whether they are exposed or not, but if they are exposed, then they have a responsibility. Just like they consider themselves to have the responsibility to lead and to tell people the way to go. Then what would I be as a father? And I don't know if you have kids, what would you be as a mother? If I was doing something that was wrong and it was found out, and then I just say, well, I don't have to apologize.
Yeah, I
that.
always believed in apologizing. I always owned my slip-ups, and there were plenty. I always owned them with my kids.
Yeah, listen, I got a bucket full myself. The Bible says, let the one who is without sin cast the first stone.
Forget it. There's no stones. Forget it. There's nobody without sin. Pastor Carl McCluster, I want to wish you a very happy Easter, and I thank you for taking the time to give us an education today, to you and all the people who worship with you. Thank you very much.
And on this day, Shabbat Shalom.
Oh, Shabbat Shalom. That's right. Pastor Carl McCluster on the Lisa Wexler Show. We'll be right back.
You listen to Melissa in the Morning, live from the Voice of Connecticut studios. But now, she's coming to your town. It's the WICC Brown Roofing Melissa in the Morning Diner Tour. Thursday mornings starting May 1st. Join Melissa Sheketoff as she broadcasts live from diners across Fairfield County. She'll interview local leaders, selectmen, and everyone that makes your town great. Get a full schedule at voiceofct.com and join us. Presented by Maritime Chevrolet, AARP Connecticut, and Connecticut Education Association.
Tune in to the Lisa Wexler Show from 10 a.m. to noon and listen for The Doctor is In, your chance to ask prominent doctors from Northwell Health your questions on everything from bariatric surgery, cancer treatment, cardiovascular disease, gamma knife and robotic surgery, and more. Listen for behind-the-scenes, in-depth discussions with Lisa Wexler and the area's top doctors. Aside from treatment options, being informed is the best weapon against illness or disease. You might not know the best questions to ask, but Lisa Wexler does, and she'll ask them during The Doctor is In.
So COPD has two components, and both are related to smoking and air pollution and environmental exposure. If it affects the lung units, what we call alveoli, then that's what we call emphysema. And this is in our effort at Northwell regarding the COPD initiative to start screening them for COPD, because yes, it's true, we're not diagnosing most of the patients that have COPD. COPD.
The Doctor is In with Lisa Wexler, featuring prominent doctors from Northwell Health.
Now you can find out who's under the helmet and behind the jersey with the Rudin Report Athlete Profile. High school sports are made great by the student athletes who play them. Check out the High School Athlete Profile, sponsored by BMW of Darien at therudinreport.com.
Hey Yankees fans, on Sunday, April 27th, when the Yankees take on the Toronto Blue Jays, take your family out to the ballpark for the chance to receive a brand new giveaway. It's Hershey Park Kids Ticket Giveaway Day. The first 10,000 kids 12 and younger will receive a Hershey Park Kids ticket, courtesy of Hershey Park. For tickets, log on to Yankees.com/tickets. That's the Yankees and Blue Jays on Hershey Park Kids Ticket Giveaway Day, Sunday, April 27th. Visit Yankees.com/tickets.
Progressive makes bundling easy and affordable. Get a multi-policy discount by combining your motorcycle, RV, boat, ATV, and more. All your protection in one place. Bundle and save at Progressive.com. That's Progressive.com.
Looking for a reliable dentist in your neighborhood? Columbia Dental's Norwalk office is here for you. Located at 91 East Avenue, our team of general dentists and an oral surgeon are ready to serve you. As part of the Columbia Implant Center network in Manchester, we offer 7-day-a-week services, including an in-house digital dental lab for same-day emergency care. Visit our website at columbiadental.com for more information and to book your appointment today. Your smile is our priority.
Save a Tree is Connecticut's premier provider of lawn, tree, and shrub care. With Save a Tree's certified arborists, you can be sure your property will look its best year-round. From pruning and fertilizing to pest and disease management, their certified arborists are trained to deliver the highest quality service, ensuring your property looks the best it can. Call 203-853-9526 or visit treecare.com. That's treecare.com.
Listen to Lisa while you're at work. VoiceofCT.com. Back to the Lisa Wexler Show. WICC 695.9.
By the way, I want to thank our listeners. You know, I've got the best listeners to the Lisa Wexler Show. Hola, 203-333-9422. Somebody just sent me the King James version of the description of the Last Supper, and it talks about the supper with unleavened bread. So that's why I thought it was the Passover, and that's why people are writing me now and telling me, yeah, the Last Supper was Passover. 203-333-9422, because most of the time we're eating our leavened bread. Are we not? We are eating that leavened bread. All right, we've got one more day until the end of Passover, but this is Easter weekend, so I want to wish you a happy Easter and however way you celebrate, and if you're with the kids and you do the Easter egg hunts, and you hopefully have a lot of fun. So yesterday, about 500 people gathered at various college campuses, Yale and UConn at stores, to protest the Trump administration's stopping of visas and taking some of the people out of the country, canceling their visas, student visas, and not telling them why. And many of these people are claiming that they were not pro-Palestinian, that they had nothing to do with that. Some people are saying, I just don't know why. If you dig a little deeper, you will find that the people that are being picked up now for student visas, some of them very definitely, Marco Rubio has said that these people are antithetical to American foreign policy, doesn't want them here. They don't have a right to be here, and they're out. But there are other people who've been arrested, and they've been arrested for perhaps speeding or driving while intoxicated. There was one instance of somebody in Connecticut who was a little bit violent, and the police were called, and then the charges were dropped at a domestic violence incident. And so what's happening is, I believe ICE is combing through criminal records. And if you're here on a visa, again, not a green card or anything like that, but on a visa is basically saying, I promise to be here and I promise to behave. And if I don't behave, I'm a guest and I don't necessarily have permission to stay. But immigration lawyers say it's not so simple. That ICE is not supposed to be picking people up for arrests that have not been turned into convictions, for open cases that have later been dismissed. In fact, the lawyers that do this, they say that if you're going to have your visa revoked, you have to have been convicted of something that has a not less than 1 year imprisonment, and that it can't be for something that didn't turn into that. So we are having that happen right now. We are having instances where people feel their visas are being wrongly snatched and revoked and that they are being sent back to their home countries. And so in the wake of that, you had about 500 people yesterday protesting and essentially saying hands off, part of the hands off protests. And so this hit the colleges yesterday, 203-333-9422. It's Friday, and I like to collect news you may have missed. This morning, The Guardian posted a story. You know that fluoride is being blamed, excessive fluoride is being blamed for a drop in IQ in some cases, learning disabilities in others. And there's no question that an excess of a particular chemical is not a good thing. And in fact, I know in New York State, they revised the fluoridated water guidelines a few years ago, and they reduced them. And if you look on charts, you can see that over the years they've been reduced, but they're still there. And if you look at the statistics, the incidence of tooth decay has greatly plummeted with the insertion of fluoride in our drinking water supply. I saw the story this morning on The Guardian that was an eye-popper, and I sent it to all my kids. And the story is that, and this is shocking to you, so get ready, that our toothpaste, the toothpaste we use, a lot of it has lead in it. It has lead, it has cadmium, it has arsenic, toothpaste. We're talking Sensodyne, Crest. In fact, the only toothpaste specifically cited in the Guardian article that did not have any of these terrible chemicals is a kid's toothpaste called Dr. Brown's. So maybe that's what we all ought to buy. And I got no stake in any toothpaste company here. I could care less. Except you wonder if it isn't fluoride that ought to be blamed, but maybe the toothpaste that contains fluoride. Because all of us, all the time, hopefully at least, are brushing our teeth once or twice a day, sometimes more than that, but at least that. And we have been told that we need to have fluoridated toothpaste. The toothpaste companies say that they are in compliance with FDA requirements per parts, per whatever, and that they're perfectly safe. And the article reveals that if you're going to go with FDA compliance, yeah, they're okay. But compared to European standards of how much fluoride is supposed to be in toothpaste, they're not okay. And compared to the fact that we shouldn't be having any lead in any toothpaste, they're not okay. Why should we allow any lead in any toothpaste? Lead, even a micro exposure to lead, noticeably decreases our IQ and causes all kinds of defects in our brain. Noticeably. Why would we have any toothpaste company defend any amount of these inert heavy metals going into our mouths several times a day? You have got to be kidding me. It is just, to me, it is so tone deaf and so shocking. I'm Lisa Wexler. We're going to have to skip the Kindness to Strangers today because I've got to go to a doctor's appointment and I can't be late. So I love you, and I'll be back behind the mic on Monday. We're going to replay David Baldacci from last week. We're going to replay a clip from our housing commissioner, Sala Mascara Bruno. Thank you. So we're going to have informed and interesting and entertaining conversation right now here on WICC. Don't miss a minute. John Kamal fills us in with Chris Williams with the download from 12 to 2, and then it's Paul Pacelli from 2 to 6. I'll see you back behind the mic on Monday.
All of the Lisa Wexler Show interviews are always on demand through her daily podcast. Follow and subscribe today.
WICC 600 and 95.9, The Voice of Connecticut. Online at thevoiceofct.com. Thanks to Fairfield University's School of Engineering and Computing. Your business or service can reach thousands of listeners with The Lisa Wexler Show. The award-winning show is consistently ranked in the top 5 talk radio shows in Connecticut. Lisa's listeners are devoted and loyal. They should know how great your business is. Advertise on The Lisa Wexler Show. Just email Lisa at voiceofct.com. That's Lisa at voiceofct.com. The Lisa Wexler Show. If you're thinking about it, Lisa's talking about it. And that includes you. WICC 600 AM and 107.3 FM has your traffic covered. Listen weekdays for the most up-to-date traffic reports brought to you by Smart MLS. There's a smarter way to sell your home.
Going to the vet is a stressful experience. If your dog is like mine, he's quaking under the furniture while you're waiting. Meanwhile, you're missing work just to be seen during office hours. Luckily for us, we have Dr. Jeffrey K., the visiting veterinarian in our neighborhood. Dr. K comes to your house, answers the phone himself 7 days a week all year long, has over 30 years experience caring for dogs and cats, and for sick visits, vaccinations, end-of-life care, and great diagnostics, Dr. K is there for you. If you have more than one pet, Dr. K only charges for one house call, and his fees are surprisingly reasonable. Most importantly, Dr. K answers the phone after 5, meaning that you aren't forced to go to an emergency vet clinic just because your regular vet is closed. For old-fashioned personal service and top-quality veterinary care, call Dr. Jeffrey K., the visiting veterinarian, at 203-856-9900. That's 203-856-9900, because you and your pet deserve the best.
The Southern Connecticut College and Career Fair presented by Chesla is this Tuesday at the Hartford Healthcare Amphitheater in Bridgeport. Info at ctcollegefair.com.
Welcome to Outpost Pizza, a father and son pizzeria where pizza is more than just tradition. Crispy, thin crust perfected over decades with their secret sauce. One bite and you'll know why families keep coming back for more. If you know Outpost, you know Joe. He's here every day, making sure every pie is just right.